I plan on going back to UFC.
You do?
If they'll have me, I would like to go back and fucking whoop someone's ass there.
Well, who would you want to if it was offered? Justin Gaethje, it sounds like.
I'm not fighting at 55 though, but right now I'm not fighting in there because there's nobody to fight really. It's kind of slow rolling.
I feel like UFC would.
I don't really have a name in mind right now in the UFC. That's why I'm not there right now. Otherwise,
but the name, the draw, the excitement that you would bring to it, I feel like it's really lacking in UFC. Everybody's
that's
rushing, everybody's
I would
wrestling.
be there if there was somebody that I wanted to go fight. But
I want to see the rubber match with Conor McGregor.
with time for sure. Yeah, whenever he's back. Me and him for sure got unfinished.
If there's another fight that would sell and it would be huge, it would be that. It would be Diaz 3.
Oh, yeah.
That could be, especially if Diaz gets past Poirier.
Yes.
Even if he doesn't. I mean, just that fight alone. I mean, there's the history between those two guys. I mean, that would be...
And it's so appealing stylistically as well, the fight, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a grappler at heart. I love grappling. But I also understand that a jiu-jitsu tournament will put people to sleep, you know. Even if you're into jiu-jitsu, it's hard to watch a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yes.
But anybody can see a punch hitting someone in the head and then falling down. That's, you know, that's exciting. And him and Diaz is such a great personality matchup. It's such a great skill clash. You know, if I was to design somebody that's going to bring the best out of corner, you'd want someone that, you know, can hit back and take a big shot and put up at the trash. It's a beautiful fight. I would love to see that rematch.
Yeah, the thing about Diaz when they first fought was that he didn't give a fuck about trash talk. It didn't bother him at all. It was...
Everyone heard Nate Diaz open the door. As if unresolved business had never cooled off, Diaz is pointing directly at Conor McGregor with the White House card in the air. There is only chaos, history, and an unburied rivalry. No legacy tour, no belt talk. This serves as a reminder of what happens when bad blood and attention collide, not a critique of headlines.
Story that Conor McGregor is being talked to headline the White House card. I don't buy it. I can't buy it. Why are we be turning to Conor McGregor? And the answer is also out there because he is the sport's biggest star. That is true. So is that what you need? If you've got the open checkbook and you've got the magic wand, without saying names, do you say, I'm going to put as my main event the sport's biggest star? Is that your answer? Does it matter who he's fighting? What if it's a championship match? If you have an open checkbook and you have a magic wand and you don't use any names, but you're going to put the championship on, would you say heavyweight? Would you say women's 135? Would you say wherever Kazmat Chimaev's at? Like, how is it that you would answer that question? And then what if you're really going to go for a big fight? What if you really follow this for a long time? You're going to do what we used to call a super fight, but now we call it title versus title. You're going to take the champion of a weight class and you're going to put them with another champion of...
Nate Diaz didn't skirt the issue. Conor McGregor was the only name that caught his attention when the White House card was presented. Nothing fancy, no sales pitches, just the simple fact that nothing else really makes a difference if it's not McGregor. Diaz is in, fans want it, and the third chapter is lingering in the background, awaiting the right moment rather than consent, with everyone knowing why.
Last thing, White House card, like he said, you want Conor McGregor?
Yeah, but the whole thing's on WWE, so
right.
It's like, at least that's happening and it's getting something to talk about, something to watch, and I'm looking forward to that fight actually.
Now fans want it.
Devontae and Paul should be good, and then because what else are you looking forward to? Hurry up.
Nothing.
Hurry up. What else?
If it's not you, McGregor, Ryan, it's nobody.
So it's good. It's good.
Now fans want you versus McGregor 3. Do you want that fight?
Yeah, for sure.
White House?
Yeah, what time? We'll see what happens.
Without completely closing the door, Dana White threw cold water on the trilogy discussion. White cited time as the true variable, pointing out that a year in this sport can completely change everything, especially since McGregor has hinted at a comeback and Diaz has expressed open interest. Any certainty at this time is meaningless because cards, champions, and priorities can all change, and by the next 4th of July, the entire scene may look completely different. The idea isn't dead. In other words, it's just not quite ready to be put on paper.
Conor McGregor said he's back in the pool. Nate Diaz said he would love to be the opponent. Are you interested in that trilogy?
That fight's a year away. Landscape will change so much by next 4th of July. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows who's going to be on the card? What the main event will be, or who will hold all the titles? Everything could be completely different. So it's not even worth thinking about it right now.
In contrast to Dana White's wait-and-see stance, Michael Bisping went straight to the big picture. If Nate Diaz ever makes his way back and Conor McGregor truly returns, he sees no hesitation. That's the fight to make every time. Their rivalry already ranks among the biggest in UFC history, and placing it on a White House card would immediately set the scale for the entire event, especially alongside blockbuster matchups at the top. For Bisping, the logic goes deeper than promotion. McGregor doesn't need another fight, but fighting never leaves you, and that pull one more moment, one more win, makes his involvement in a card that historic feel almost inevitable.
To see it, if Nate Diaz was to come back. But if he was, and if Conor McGregor does actually make it back, I think that's the fight to make all day long. The one-on-one, there were some of the biggest fights in UFC history. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor at the White House would be absolutely insane. It probably will have Tom Aspinall versus John Jones in the main event. It probably will have Conor McGregor versus someone, Michael Chandler or Nate Diaz, in the co-main event. So that just kind of sets the tone for how big that card would be. What do you think? Do you think Conor McGregor will actually make it back? Of course, he hasn't fought since 2021, right? It's going to be 5 years since he last fought. I, for one, fair play to the guy. Fair play, man. Respect. He doesn't need to do this. He doesn't need to come back. He's got lots of other avenues and ways to make money. But fighting is something that never leaves you, okay? It's a part of who you are. It's in your DNA. It's part of your soul. And he wants to come back and he wants to get his hands raised in victory. Of course, he wants to come back and be a part of that.
Bisping then widened the lens even further, shifting from rivalry to pure spectacle. If the conversation is really about super fights that shake the entire sport, he pointed to John Jones versus Alex Pereira as the one that eclipses everything. Pereira's rise, his star power, and what he's already accomplished across divisions make the idea almost unreal, and if he were to beat Jones, Bisping argued, it would lock in a legacy no one else has ever touched. At the same time, he grounded it in reality. McGregor versus Chandler remains the expected route, but once politics, power, and relationships enter the picture, even the most set plans can suddenly bend.
Fair, if we're talking about super fights, if we're talking about something that's really going to get the MMA world excited, then it would be John Jones versus Alex Pereira, right? Alex Pereira is one of the biggest stars. He came back in style and destroyed Magomed Ankalaev. The man's phenomenal. He's unbelievable. He's a two-weight division champion. What he's achieved in this sport is ridiculous. If he was to face John Jones and if he was to beat him, then I guess he would go on and fight for the third belt, and that'd be it. That'd be set in stone. Alex Pereira would, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, be the greatest mixed martial artist to ever compete. Simple as that. There's no one that's fought for 3 belts or won 3 belts. Just the thought of that alone is crazy. I mean, it took me about, 26 fights in the UFC to even get 1 title shot. So they're not easy to come by. Anyway, so there's that. Now they're talking about Conor McGregor fighting Michael Chandler. That's going to be the fight that happens. We all know about that. There's nothing new there. And the thing is, if Donald Trump wants it, if the president of the United States wants it, and as Eric says in that video, him and Dana are...
MMA Guru brought the focus back to timing and context, keeping it grounded in the fans' perspective. He said the fight to watch next hinges on Nate Diaz actually returning and making a statement with a big win in the welterweight division. Only then does the trilogy with McGregor truly become compelling at the White House. Right now, the hardcore fans seem split between Masvidal or Glover Teixeira, but many, including Ariel Helwani and others, are quietly leaning toward Diaz versus McGregor as the next marquee matchup.
Because that's not the fight I want to see next, okay? If Nate Diaz comes back and gets a big win over someone in the welterweight division, okay? And he does it impressively, and then the McGregor fight happens, that's when I'm interested. But right now, I feel like the hardcore fans are kind of in mutual agreement that it's Masvidal or Gaethje. To us, it's kind of Masvidal or Gaethje, and for Chael Sonnen and Ariel Helwani to both say that they think Nate Diaz trilogy should be next is strange to me. Very strange to me, because I would love to see either Gaethje or Masvidal. I feel like everyone's in agreement here. We've seen that Donald Cerrone has been beaten by Conor McGregor in his return at UFC 2.
On the other hand, Chael Sonnen cut through the hype around McGregor headlining the White House card with a little bit of skepticism. He admitted that while McGregor is undeniably the sport's biggest star, that alone doesn't automatically make him the right choice for a main event. Sonnen walked through the thought process of building a card with unlimited resources. Would you pick a championship fight, a heavyweight, a women's 135, or a super fight title versus title bout? His point was clear. Star power matters, but the bigger question is whether it creates the kind of matchup that truly moves the needle.
Story that Conor McGregor is being talked to headline the White House card. I don't buy it. I can't buy it. Why are we be turning to Conor McGregor? And the answer is also out there because he is the sport's biggest star. That is true. So is that what you need? If you've got the open checkbook and you've got the magic wand, without saying names, do you say, I'm going to put as my main event the sport's biggest star? Is that your answer? Does it matter who he's fighting? What if it's a championship match? If you have an open checkbook and you have a magic wand and you don't use any names, but you're going to put the championship on, would you say heavyweight? Would you say women's 135? Would you say wherever Kazmat Chimaev's at? Like, how is it that you would answer that question? And then what if you're really going to go for a big fight? What if you really follow this for a long time? You're going to do what we used to call a super fight, but now we call it title versus title. You're going to take the champion of a weight class and you're going to put them with another champion of a...
Sonnen went on to explain why the McGregor talk feels even more questionable. Pencil him in for mid-2025 on a card smack in the middle of 2026, at a venue not yet built and with tickets not yet on sale, and it starts to strain credibility. The problem, he argued, is that if Conor isn't a champion or even in title contention, then putting him front and center means the card's biggest star won't be fighting for a belt. In other words, a non-title McGregor headlining a historic card makes the bigger-than-big messaging harder to sell, even with 2 other titles up for grabs.
And it's one of the reasons that I'm struggling with the idea that McGregor is being penciled in the middle of 2025 for a card that sits dead center in the middle of 2026 at a venue yet to be built, for tickets that are yet to be on sale. I struggle with it because we're openly saying if we're going to put Conor on there that there's no title. Unless you believe that Conor McGregor is going to demote himself, right? The biggest draw should be the main event. Your biggest star, regardless of belt, should be the main event. But in this case, if our biggest draw and our biggest star is not a champion or a contender in any weight class, we're going to acknowledge up front that our biggest show will not contain a title, which makes it a little difficult down the road to go, this show's bigger than big. In fact, we got 2 titles up. Yes, you heard me. There's 2 titles. When can you ever get that? And nothing more important than a title fight.
And then Ben Askren just threw a curveball at Nate Diaz's legacy. He argued that Diaz, while hyped and fan-beloved, was really just an average fighter who somehow sold himself as elite. With a modest record in the UFC and beyond, Askren framed Diaz's reputation as more perception than performance, and hinted that speaking this truth publicly might trigger a full-on social media backlash. Love him or hate him, Askren's take is guaranteed to spark debate across the MMA world.
No, listen, Nate Diaz, he is the most puzzling. He's not. I don't even think he's that good. I'll go get his record if you want me to. But he has convinced people he is good at fighting somehow, some way.
He's pretty good.
I'm gonna go get his damn record, Daniel. It's not.
But he won the Ultimate Fighter. He won the Ultimate Fighter. I'm saying he was good for the time that he was fighting.
No, he wasn't. He was average.
He was. Yeah. Okay. I'm just.
Okay.
Trying
I'm gonna go get the record. I'm gonna go get the record. They're gonna yell at me. I know this. Okay. Let's see. Well, his record is 21-13.
Oh my God. Really?
Yes, that's not that great.
Okay, I take it back. I'm taking it back.
And he was going into the UFC, he was, I think it was 5-1. So within the UFC, he was 16-12.
That's not good.
That's not very good.
That's not good. There's really no way to twist that into good.
Yeah. So but you know, his personality, and that's another one's like, how did his personality catch on? He says funny things sometimes. He's a little bit different. I don't, yeah. And listen, if you post this clip, please don't post this clip because the Diaz army will attack me.
On the talk of who should be at the White House, Daniel Cormier weighed in on the Jon Jones heavyweight chatter with a dose of realism. While Jones moving up is intriguing, Cormier thinks his best work and the matchup fans really want still lies at light heavyweight, pointing to a potential clash with Alex Pereira at 205 on the White House card. He acknowledged that Jones has bulked up over time, but believes shedding the extra pounds to make 205 is still within reach, keeping that dream fight very much alive. Whereas John Anik laid out his vision for the White House card with a mix of practicality and fan service. He suggested the main event should be the heavyweight championship, likely Tom Aspinall defending against Cyril Gane, while acknowledging the buzz around Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira remains uncertain. For the co-main, Anik penciled in a bantamweight title fight between Petr Yan and Merab Dvalishvili, and he expressed hope that by June 14th, fans could see 4 or 5 undisputed titles contested on the White House lawn, a truly historic card if it comes together. Moreover, Brendan Schaub laid out what he calls a dream card that would make any MMA fan lose their mind. He stacked it with names like Arman Topuria, Islam Makhachev, Sean Strickland, Alex Pereira, and Jon Jones, plus McGregor versus Diaz, calling it the kind of lineup he'd pay top dollar to watch. And he didn't stop at the main event. Even prelims like Gable Stevenson and Bo Nickel would be must-sees, with Michael Chandler also locked in, rounding out what he describes as a card so explosive it could redefine fan expectations. In contrast to that, Henry Cejudo weighed in on the biggest potential matchups for the White House card and didn't mince words. Out of fights like Alex Pereira versus Jon Jones, Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, Jones versus Francis Ngannou, and McGregor versus Michael Chandler, he put his money on Jones versus Aspinall. For Cejudo, it's more than rankings, it's symbolism. The 250th birthday of the US, a clash of legacies, and a true greatest of all time versus the present. In his view, that fight isn't just big, it's the one fight that could define the entire card. So what's your take? Will Nate Diaz step back in to face Conor, or is McGregor lining up a different challenger? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe for all the latest updates. You won't want to miss a moment of this